This is Daybreak on Trust TV, and this is the newspaper review segment of the program. Of course, as is customary, I have a copy of the Daily Trust with me. We go straight into it. Front page, lead story says Kano Emirate. Court leaves contenders in limbo, says Governor Yusuf's actions of May 23 null void. Ruling affirmed Bayero's deposition. AG asks police to evict 15th Emir. Judge's decisions strange, confusing, according to Professor Yadudu. That story is on page 4. Read up on more, and we see the pictorial there of the two emirs in Kano, Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II and Emir Ado Bayero. What goes on next? Well, details, page 4. Barricades on Rivers Local Government Secretariat will remain. That's according to the Inspector General of Police. You want to know why? Page 11 of the Daily Trust has that story. Irate youth kill man accused of blasphemy in Bauchi. Page 10 has that story. Super Eagles drop 8 places in latest FIFA rankings. What's the situation with sports development in Nigeria, especially as it relates to football? Read up more on page 30 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Cyclist jailed for slapping seizing gun from policeman in Jos. Why would you slap a police officer? Well, page 17 has details of that story, and at the top of the page, an unfortunate development here says journalist found dead in Abuja. That's a really sad story there. And also, governors turned varsities into constituency projects, according to ASU. Also, Army acquires own surveillance helicopters, I guess, to ramp up the fight against insecurity. Page 26 has that story, and these are some of the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust. You could get a copy to read more. We now go to the Punch newspaper. Front page, lead story there states cholera. Death toll rises to 37 as Lagos records 401 cases. An unfortunate development there. Federal government orders water analysis as outbreak spreads in Lagos, Ogun. Osun Cross River activate emergency response. 5 hospitalized. Seems as the cases continue to increase of infections in the cholera outbreak. This is more reasons why you need to take precaution, keep your environment clean, be mindful of your water sources, and of course your sources of food as well. Federal government probes 2.7 trillion naira subsidy debt and lists Auditor General. Page 17 of the Punch newspaper has that story. Naira slump, loans push public debt to 121 trillion naira. That's according to the Debt Management Office. Of course, they're talking about the $4.4 billion that the federal government intends to loan from the World Bank. Other stories on the Punch newspaper. Bottom page says protesters demand El Rufai's trial for alleged 423 billion naira theft. I was going to read debt there, but it says theft. Page 28 has that story. Lagos APC mourns member as Hajj death cross 1,000. Fortunate development. Otedola raises FBNH stake with over 18 billion naira shares. Page 7, and these are some of the stories on the front page of the Punch. And we now go to the Nigerian Tribune. And above the masthead, we see court nullifies creation of 33 LCDAs in Ondo. Page 5, that story. Besides that, we see Ododo signs Kogi Electricity Regulatory Commission Bill, 6 others into law. Page 25. First Bank confirms Olusegun Alebiosu as CEO, Ini Ebong as DMD. And lead story says cholera death toll hits 21 in Lagos. Cases rise to 401. Lagos Island, Koshofe, Etiosa record highest numbers. Epidemiologist warns against use of carbonated drink seasoning for treatment. Federal government begins water quality analysis to control outbreak. Ogun, NMA counsels residents to imbibe preventive measures, threatens strikes over shortage of doctors. And also federal government pushes for 18-month extension of $800 million World Bank palliative scheme. These are some of the stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, and currently we have in the studio Dr. Theophilus Abba. He is the program director at the Daily Trust Foundation. He'll be joining us to give analysis on the newspaper headlines. Good morning, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Yes, indeed. So,
yes, thank you. I'm here again. I was here on Tuesday.
Indeed, and here you are again to provide more perspective. Doctor, first of all, the Kano Emirate tussle, what do you make of it? Now the court has ruled in favor of Emir Bayero.
Well, I don't think the ruling was expressly in favor of Emir Bayero, because the judge, I think Justice Liman, stated clearly that the amendment to the Emirate law cannot be violated, so it's not repealed, and he was right, because the duty of the House of Assembly is to make law.
Indeed.
So if they have made a law, the judiciary is supposed to interpret that law. Now, but he said that after the law was passed, there was a demand for an ex parte motion, which he granted. The motion was that, look, do not act on this law. But the governor went ahead to act by saying, okay, he had brought in Sanusi.
Staff of office.
Now, fundamentally, if the law stands, the law that repeals the Emirates, if the law stands, it means that whatever is built on that law should stand.
Indeed.
But he is saying no. That if somebody has said, look, this law that was passed, do not act on it, then you should argue against it and say, well, I'm going to act on it. You go to maybe another court, to say, look, I'm acting on it. And then if the court now say, yes, you can go ahead to act on it, that is when you should appoint another emir. Now, the issue is this. You see, it's not really clear. Now, which means that at the moment, you cannot say Emir Bayero is the emir of Kano. You cannot say Sanusi is the emir of Kano.
Complicating the issue.
Yes. So I think the case is going to a higher court, who will now seek maybe an amendment or interpretation of the law, or who will now set aside the ex parte motion, that was issued by Justice Liman, or who will say, well, it stands, and there's going to be another legal work, and I foresee that this case could go to the Supreme Court. Because if you say, well, this law, I cannot stop the law from being enacted, and he said that clearly, the law has been enacted, I can't say the law is null and void. I can't say that. All I'm saying is that this law has been enacted, but don't act upon the law. Somebody came to say, don't act upon the law, and that person has the right, to see, because I think he's a member of the Kingmakers. So if the person don't act upon the law, I've granted that you should not act upon the law. Now you went and acted upon the law. So now I'm saying that whatever you have done, the action you took, is null and void. Indeed. That means that the appointment of Sanusi, based on what Justice Liman said, cannot stand. But then it does not say that Emir Bayero should take over.
Indeed.
So I'm feeling that the judiciary should be clearer, and they should. If they are interpreting the law, they should do it in such a manner that they are providing a way forward. As it is today, there's a stalemate, there is confusion in Kano. If we are looking for the way forward, that judgment is not the way forward.
Indeed.
That is my take.
All right then. So moving now to Rivers State, where the barricades on Rivers Local Government Secretariat, they say, will remain. Do you think this has anything to do with the rift between the state governor and his predecessor?
Of course, we know that the local government level is what many politicians would call their own network, that is their own base, political base. So Wike was the one that appointed. I think there was an election. It was under him that the local government chairmen were elected about 2 years ago. Now, definitely, most of the local government chairmen, were his own legmen. Those who were supposed to work, for him, securing his political base for him, his foot soldiers politically. And now with this rift, it's very clear that Fubara appointed some caretaker persons who are his loyalists to take over. But the police are saying that, look, there's crisis, we cannot allow them to take over at the moment. Now, a whole lot of things have happened. If there is no election, I think there is a law that says, okay, if there was no election, those that were there should be there for 6 months. But even that law has been disputed. There's an appeal against that law. So the people who were removed, could not continue to remain there. And local government councils cannot be run, without chairman or whatsoever. And that was why initially Fubara was saying, okay, the highest officer, maybe the secretary of the council or whatsoever should take over. Now he has appointed caretaker chairperson. Now the role of the police, is actually to protect the law, to protect those who should be legitimately there. And I'm thinking that the issue has to be resolved as quickly as possible so that it does not degenerate into crisis. I'm saying so because Rivers is very volatile. I don't know how many policemen have been deployed to local government councils. Maybe no more than 20 per local government. You understand? Now, if this degenerates and the youths go on the rampage and begin to attack the policemen cannot protect those councils. They don't have enough men to protect those councils. So the issue has to be, I will look at it legally, look at it fundamentally and say, look, what is the right thing? Does the governor have the powers to appoint caretaker chairman? I think he has the power. Maybe for a short period of time. And then you now say, okay, let's conduct another election. But as long as the other chairmen are concerned, their tenure, was over. So they had to leave.
Indeed. All right, then. Now, let's go to this interesting story here. It says cyclist jail for slapping seizing gun from policeman in Jos. It's on the City and Crime page. A Jos Magistrate Court on Wednesday sentenced the 24-year-old tricycle rider Benjamin Bulus to 1 year in a correctional center for smoking marijuana and assaulting a policeman. The prosecutor, Inspector Ibrahim Gokwat, told the court that the case was reported at the Laranto Police Station, Jos, by one Matthias Chung on May 25. Gokwat said that Chung made a distress call to the police that the convict was constituting a nuisance in the environment, smoking marijuana near his residence. What do you make of this story?
Well, I think all over the world, the police are meant to enforce the law, and they are like they are the agents of government. Is there anywhere you see the police, it's like you are seeing the little government standing before you. To start slapping the police, is something that is an offense. You actually is an affront on the authority itself. So you can't slap the police. You shouldn't do that. It's quite unfortunate that young man did that, and the punishment,
especially under the influence,
under the influence of alcohol,
illicit drugs.
But the thing is that we encourage the police to make sure that they up their game, to live up to the level that Nigerians will respect them. Now, if the police engage in things that bring them to disrepute, you now see things like this happen. Somebody will look at the police and say, "Get out! Who are you?" Because they know where you are not living up to expectation. They know you are not doing the right thing. Because I will see the police don't do the right thing. See them, all sorts of things happen. Especially if they know you are being used. If they know a policeman is being used, it brings you down in the eyes of the people, and that's not good. But I'm not saying that it is good to slap a policeman. You must respect the policeman because he's an agent of the constitutional authority.
Of the police.
Yes.
Indeed. Well, that's it. That's how much we can take on the newspaper review segment, and indeed on Daybreak this morning. Our conversation has been with Dr. Theophilus Abba, the project director at the Daily Trust Foundation. Thank you so much for the perspective as we review the newspaper.
Thank you. Good morning.
And indeed, that wraps up the program from me. Thank you very much for being a part of it from 8 a.m. till this time. Do well to follow us across all of our social platforms for more news, programs, and documentaries. Most importantly, thank God it's Friday and don't slap a police officer. Sports Updates comes at the top of the hour. Thank you for watching and join us again next week. Bye for now.